As you well may know, I'm not a fan of Turning Point USA, but I'm looking forward to watching the Charlie Kirk Show upcoming broadcast. Yes, I'm looking forward to watching it. And this is going to be interesting. Let's talk about it. Hey there, folks. It's Javier here coming to you live tonight. It is currently 6:30 p.m. where I am. I wish I had set times for my broadcast. I got to work on that because my mental schedule is constantly fluctuating and back and forth, teeter-tottering here and there. But I hope everybody's doing awesome tonight. And tonight's episode is going to be about Candace Owens. And this is going to be interesting. Like, I'm going to say this is going to be interesting. I actually want to see this. I actually want to see this happen. So, as we know that since Charlie Kirk's assassination, a lot of people have just kind of like moved on from this and all that. You know, they've had their big rally in Arizona, which I attended, by the way, whole different subject. And, but a lot of people, they just, they've kind of grieved. They kind of, had their time of sadness. And a lot of them have just moved on from this. Except one person, Candace Owens. Candace Owens has been going nonstop, making theory after theory after theory, examining the small details of this, prying into every little detail, and coming up with quite a few interesting stuff. And honestly, she's made claims that like the French foreign ministry was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. She's made claims that, that Israel was involved in it or kind of borderline on that. Netanyahu may have had some involvement. She's made claims that planes were following Erica Kirk around and all that stuff, like from foreign planes and foreign planes taking off at Provo Airport. And then there was like international entities involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So and she's also, one of her boldest claims is that, Turning Point USA betrayed Charlie Kirk. Can you believe that? She is saying that Turning Point USA betrayed Charlie Kirk. That people behind Turning Point USA had to approve Charlie Kirk's assassination. It's quite wild to think about. It really is quite wild to think about. And I just thought I'd do a broadcast on it, She even claimed, this is kind of cuckoo here, but I'm just going to give it to you guys. She even claimed that Charlie Kirk came to her in a dream and says, yes, I was betrayed. Now, I know biblically speaking, Christian speaking, we're not supposed to believe in that stuff. We're not supposed to believe that the dead can talk to you, all that stuff. So I'm skeptical of that. That might be her wild imagination, if you will. Or it could be demonic. It's possible it could be demonic. But it's just interesting to see that, she sincerely believes, like sincerely from her heart of heart believes that Charlie Kirk was betrayed by Turning Point USA, that the French foreign ministry has took a part in assassinating Charlie Kirk, and all this other stuff, foreign planes taking off from Provo Airport, following Erica Kirk around, and all that stuff. It's quite wild. So recently, Turning Point USA decided to reach out to her. Yeah, Turning Point USA finally says, we've had enough of this. We are going to finally address your claims, and we're going to be inviting you on the show. So I'm going to be showing you, and I'm pretty sure that many of you have already seen this, but, oh, by the way, it's kind of funny how Candace Owens even actually reached out to the FBI, and the FBI never responded to her because it's possible they might think she's cuckoo or something. But I want to show you that too. It's quite crazy. But this is kind of exciting, actually. Like, I want to talk a little bit about this, and I want to kind of dive into this a little bit. But I want to play the response from Turning Point USA first, and we're going to discuss it a little bit. So this is going to be interesting. Hang on a minute. This is what Turning Point USA had to say about Candace Owens' claims.
For the past 2.5 months, there is a topic that has flooded our freedom inbox. It has been nonstop on social media, but which we have almost totally avoided on this show. You probably already know what I'm talking about, which shows just how ubiquitous it has been. Ever since Charlie's murder, Candace Owens has leveled a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA, people at Turning Point Action, and people who work for this show. She's made them against some of Charlie's closest friends and against some of his most dedicated employees. She has suggested that Michael McCoy, Charlie's chief of staff, knew Charlie would be murdered, was happy that he died, and stayed silent because he was told he would be the next Charlie. She has suggested Michael is not his real name. It is. I have seen his birth certificate myself. She has called it suspicious that Mikey's wife, who works at Turning Point, helped plan the campus tour event where Charlie was murdered, which she didn't, by the way. She doesn't work on campus events. Candace has suggested the Utah Valley University event was unusual and its details suggested a, quote, inside job. She has claimed that foreign aircraft have followed Erica Kirk around the country and that Turning Point has lied about this happening. She has accused us of lying about Charlie wanting Erica to take over for him if he died. She has suggested Charlie's security team intentionally denied him first aid after the shooting to ensure that he died. She has raised suspicions about the head of our technical team because he took an SD card out of a camera. She has spread absurd claims that Tyler Boyer, who we just had on the show, sexually abuses male interns. She has suggested that TPUSA faith-affiliated pastors, like theologian Frank Turek, who we'll have on in a moment, and Pastor Rob McCoy, are part of a military, quote, infiltration of Turning Point, either because they are veterans or because they have family members who are. Even if not everyone has been named specifically, though, Candace has effectively tarred everyone here with complicity in Charlie's death by repeatedly saying he was, quote, betrayed by, quote, everyone. She has said Charlie's murder, quote, had to be approved by Charlie's friends.
Wow.
And then suggested those friends might have her murdered too for, quote, knowing the truth. She has made claims of financial impropriety and fraud at Turning Point, adding up into the millions of dollars, which, again, is not true. Charlie made sure the organization was audited by a third party every year. He personally reviewed and he signed off on every expense report, and literally every single bill paid by the organization, down to a single United States dollar. We have never missed a 990 deadline. Candace has made other stranger allegations involving French paratroopers in maroon shirts, Egyptian Air Force planes flying out of Provo, Utah, and potential underground assassins traveling through unseen tunnels. At one point, in early November, she started wildly throwing suspicion on members of Utah Valley's soccer team for wearing hoodies. I could go on. There is always something new coming up, and none of it ever pans out, because from the start, there has been nothing there. The attacks and allegations from Candace are either lies or they are innuendos thrown around with a total, reckless disregard for the truth, so that Candace can manipulate and string along an audience of people who don't realize they are being played. Instead of being able to grieve properly after one of the most heinous murders in American history, a murder many of us had to witness, my friends have had to endure harassment from people who have gotten whipped up by what Candace is saying. In fact, I would say we have suffered more harassment from these people than we have from Antifa supporters who overtly celebrate Charlie's murder. And just like a lot of those Antifa members, many of these people take this delight in how gross and unpleasant they can be. What our friends have had to endure is not funny,
Quite a long
and it's
little
not
rebuke.
insignificant. It is evil. I have seen it. For months, we have received hundreds, thousands, I suspect, emails and calls asking us to respond. People have wanted us to invite Candace on the show, but for a long time, our approach was to say nothing. We did that for several reasons. First, we thought that her prevarications were so absurd that nobody would believe them. We shouldn't have to answer questions about secret tunnels or Egyptian Air Force planes. That sort of thing is just, it's beneath contempt to respond to.
Egyptian Air Force
The second reason we've
planes.
said so little, though, is because there's a good rule of thumb, which Charlie followed. Do not feed the trolls. Focus on the mission. Reviving America, uplifting young people, making heaven crowded. Don't give air to people who want to tear you down and sow discord. Lastly, we didn't respond because Charlie always viewed Candace as a friend, and we were holding out hope that she would return that friendship and stop what she was doing. But a week from now, it's going to be 3 months since Charlie's murder. Candace has not changed her behavior. She has continued to spread falsehoods about Charlie's friends, and she continues to concoct new ones about new people. She's using these falsehoods to enrich herself while dividing the conservative movement, at an absolutely critical time for this country. And far too often, we here have heard from ordinary people, people who loved Charlie and who Charlie loved so much in return. These people have expressed the worry that we are staying silent out of cowardice or as some sort of tacit admission that some of the attacks are true. Neither is the case. Our silence has never been, and it will never be, equal to complacency or approval. Still, we decided Charlie would not allow this to go on. Charlie was not a coward. Charlie was a fighter. Charlie would not allow someone to spread lies about the people closest to him with impunity. And he would feel ashamed if other people were stepping up to defend his friends while he never did so himself. Candace has mentioned several times that the ball is in our court. So here's what is going to happen. In the near future, there will be a live stream here in Phoenix where we address in a clear and comprehensive way the claims and accusations, the false accusations that have been made against Charlie's family, friends, and the people here at Turning Point. We plan to walk through everything carefully and thoroughly. If Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream at our studio here in Phoenix. At this point, we believe the ball is back in her court. Our motivation for doing this is not out of any obligation to Candace. It is about honoring Charlie. We feel a deep responsibility to protect his legacy, his work, and the truth. I feel that. I owe Charlie everything in my life. I feel it immensely. And that is why we feel compelled to speak clearly and openly now. We'll have more on this in the near future.
Wow. So that did go on for a long time, but that was pretty bold and confrontational. Candace, let me see. That was pretty bold and confrontational, so that should be interesting. And Candace Owens obviously she accepted that challenge. So, and I just want to give you guys an example of things Candace Owens was saying about, like, just one example, and it's hilarious how she's talking about Egyptian aircraft and foreign aircraft flying out, all kinds of wacky stuff. But it's honestly super funny. I mean, if I say this respectfully, it is kind of funny that she's saying all this, but you know, it really brings your mind to like a possible like a theory. It makes your mind like want to like believe in like these theories and stuff, like what is true, what is not, what actually, you know. And I'm not really a conspiracy theorist either, but like, you know, you like have to wonder what is true and what is not, you know, what is actually the truth. Like, about this, like, are we just gonna put all the blame on this poor teenager this poor 20-something-year-old from Utah? Or is there something a lot deeper going on to it, like Candace is saying? Maybe Egypt was involved. Maybe Egyptian military aircraft were involved. Maybe Israel had some involvement. Maybe, you know, who knows? Maybe the French Foreign Ministry, as we're about to see here, maybe they did have some involvement. Maybe there was a big global plot to assassinate Charlie Kirk. And I'm just entertaining these theories here. You know, it's like, hypothetically speaking, this is not left or right. You guys know I'm an independent, so I can say whatever I want. But this is not left or right. Like, at the end of the day, what if Candace Owens is right? What if Turning Point USA approved this assassination and actually stabbed Charlie Kirk in the back? What if? And I hope you guys made it this far, because I'm aware that actually took quite a long time, you know, to play that audio, that rebuke, if you will, from Turning Point USA and stuff, you know. But I'm just going to give you one example of things Candace was saying, and honestly, this makes me laugh, but imagine if it were true, guys. Imagine if, like, there was something a lot bigger and darker at play, a lot bigger and like global at play, involving the French, involving the Egyptians. God have mercy. Involving the French, involving the like Egyptians, involving Israel, involving etc. Involving like French, Israel, you know, etc. Oh God, where's the balance? Yeah, good. I got this balanced. Yeah, so just imagine if that, like, and then you gotta wonder, like, what if Charlie Kirk was actually betrayed by Turning Point USA? And I'm saying this as somebody who's obviously progressive and not a fan of Charlie Kirk, did not stand by his politics. I respect him for his faith. I see him as a brother in Christ because of his faith, and his faith alone. His faith alone. His faith in Christ that I share, that he shares. I respect him because of that. But I don't respect his politics. I'm saying this as somebody who doesn't respect his politics. What if there was something a lot darker and bigger and larger at play? What if Candace is telling the truth? What if the Egyptians and the French and Israel was involved and there's foreign aircraft following Erica Kirk around, etc.? What if she's telling the truth? And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm actually just diving into the possibility of what if she's telling the truth? What if Candace Owens is right? What if Turning Point USA stabbed Candace Owens in the back? You know, it's crazy. I mean, stabbed Charlie Kirk in the back. It's crazy to think about. It's wild to think about. And we don't know. You know, we can just dismiss her as crazy as the FBI did. But what if? I'm going to give you one example, just one, of the things Candace Owens is saying and the FBI's response to it. Let's watch real quick.
I did not at all hear back from the FBI. I did hear back from the counterterrorism unit. I did hear back from the White House confirming that message had been delivered on Trump's desk. Me saying that I had the information. I guess he didn't want to inquire further. The FBI left me on red. And I will say I didn't go through an official channel and send an email, and I should do that. But I did send a text message to somebody very high up who received the text message. No response. Now, I thought that the claim of the French Foreign Legion being involved in Charlie's assassination, I thought the FBI might be interested. No phone calls even from Utah's FBI branch have come into me either. Aren't we supposed to be investigating? It was totally not a state operation.
I'm going to watch that part again, guys. I'm sorry.
Involved in Charlie's. I thought that the claim of the French Foreign Legion being involved in Charlie's assassination, I thought the FBI might be interested. No phone calls even from Utah's FBI branch have come into me either. Aren't we supposed to be investigating? It was totally not a state operation, and they really want to get to the truth.
The reason why the FBI, different people, different elites may not be reaching back to Candace is either they have it all under control, that's one. Two, they think Candace is bat crap crazy. They think Candace has lost her mind, doesn't know what she's talking about, and is just fishing in a sea full of no fish. Or three, they're in on it. The FBI has not reached
Wow. The French Foreign Legion involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Emmanuel Macron, you know, they claim that, like, Candace Owens has made allegations that his wife's a transgender, just like a lot of right-wingers have made some unfortunate and very nasty allegations about Obama's wife. But it's just wild to me. Like, it's wild to me. Like, how much truth is there to this stuff, you know? And so, in conclusion, I'm aware that Candace Owens responded to Turning Point USA. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'd like to see her response. Yeah, let's skip right here to her response. I want to see what she has to say to this. But she did respond to Turning Point USA, and she took him up on the challenge. So I want to see that showdown. Like, I don't know about you, but I actually want to see that showdown. That's going to be quite interesting. And it's good, you know, if you want to open. Let's see what she had to say to them.
Questions, okay? Because that's what Charlie did for a living. How could you guys think that you were just going to continue on and pretend like people asking meaningful questions was somehow an attack?
Well, to be fair, Candace, like, we have to be fair. Charlie would be done through the judicial system.
And he sat there principally and debated people because he...
Whatever. I'm not going to play that. That's kind of distracting. But point is that she did accept the offer. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of it and what kind of, like, possible truth comes out of it, if you will. Maybe Candace is right. Maybe she's not crazy. Maybe Turning Point USA did betray Charlie Kirk. Maybe, you know, all this stuff is true. You know, it's like, and I've been having really, I thought I had a good setup here, but I'm having a really hard time balancing my camera here. Like, I'm having a really hard time balancing it. Maybe it's because of the screen protector. I don't even know. But the point is that, like, it's possible. You know, who knows? What if Turning Point USA did betray Charlie Kirk? What if Israel or France? What if all this stuff was involved? What if Candace Owens is telling the truth? You know, it's good to open your mind, you know, because, I mean, personally, I don't care for the political views of Turning Point USA. They may be doing some good things with faith-wise and encouraging people to talk about God and come back to God. They may be doing some good things there, but politics-wise, I don't care for them. I really don't. But and I'm not a fan of the conservative movement at all. I hope it's, you know, I don't want to see it, you know, like I want to see them ultimately, the conservative movement, I want to see it lose in the long run because and there are some good things that come out of it, you know. No, I don't want to say all the way, but there's some good things that I support about it and other things I don't, obviously. But that's aside from the point. It's going to be interesting to see the showdown, and I'd like to see what comes out of it. So, yeah, what if there's a bigger force in play that's neither right or left, and it'd be something we all be talking about, and honestly, this would also ultimately show that Charlie Kirk was in fact betrayed, possibly, who knows, and we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. And what if, let me ask this final question, because I've been going on a word salad here. If Charlie Kirk was actually betrayed by Turning Point USA, let's think about it. If Charlie Kirk was actually betrayed by Turning Point USA, if, you know, Candace Owens is right and these foreign countries are all involved in Charlie's murder, and Turning Point USA stabbed Charlie in the back and somehow approved his murder, how would that change our views? You know, people like us on the left, people like us who are progressive and on the left, how would that change our views on who Charlie Kirk was? What did Charlie Kirk do to piss them off? Because this is something deeper than right or left or politics or conservative politics, etc. This is something a lot deeper and a lot more sinister. So I'll leave that for you guys for food for thought. This has been a long broadcast, mostly a word salad. Whoever made it to the end, thank you. God bless you for watching. And take care. This is Javier here tuning out.